Welcome across the globe. It's that time of month again. My name is Morris Mizalowski. I'm a business futurist. And it's my pleasure, as always, on the last Friday of every month to look back on what's happened over the last 30 days. For those that I haven't had the pleasure of meeting and saying hello to, again, my name is Morris Mizalowski. I'm a business futurist, have been for the last 30 odd years. My life is really traveling the globe, both physically and digitally, trying to understand what the world ahead might look like and bring that information back to my audiences, both on stage in workshops and in strategy sessions, and also to a wide range of clients.
This is Eye on the Future with Morris Mizalowski.
So this morning's journey, as we do every month, is looking back to look ahead. What we do this morning is to pick out some of the things that I've been talking about, some of the things that have piqued my curiosity, and really it's a curated journey into tomorrow. I've picked out some bits and pieces, some articles, things that you may not have seen, and even if you have seen them, I think it's well worth discussing again. For those that haven't been on a Zoom conversation before, at the bottom of your screen, you'll find an opportunity to be able to send some information across. If you want to ask anything, do anything, or participate in any way, please just type away and I'll try and get to your questions as I can. So, as a business futurist, somebody who spends every day trying to help people to understand what the world ahead might look for them, a couple of pieces of advice as we venture out. The first thing is that linear thinking, the way that we used to see the world, where there was an easy and obvious solution to most problems or issues, just doesn't exist anymore. Today, linear doesn't make sense at all. And if we continue to think in a linear sense, we really are causing ourselves future damage. That means that you can't just find one solution. The world changes too quickly, too abruptly. Things evolve, technology changes, people change. And we've really got to be constantly evolving our thinking and the way we approach business and our products and services. I talk about a world of unintended consequences, and that's what I'm looking for my clients. We dig far deeper than just trying to say, if this happens, then this is the likely outcome. I'm always trying to understand what are the ramifications, what are the long-term, short-term, and medium-term consequences. What new business models might this bring? How might it change the way that we buy, shape, interact with each other? So we're always looking for a ripple effect, not just a one-off glib conversation. And in this morning and every Friday's conversation, that's exactly what we do. We go hunting for unintended consequences. My belief is that the future really is no more than a lie, and that's unusual for a business futurist to state up front. That's not to say it's not true, but the word lie is actually used in two ways. One, it is an untruth, and the way that I tend to use it is as a directional tool. We are lying in that direction, that's where we're headed. So I believe it's what we have to say and believe right now, this moment, in order to motivate ourselves, in order to want to put resource to achieving something, because we know the only thing we really can do is what is available to us at this moment. So the future, to me, is a directional tool, and that again is how we're going to use this morning's conversation.
Get on, we have so much time and so little to do. Strike that, reverse it. This way, please.
One of my most favorite pieces out of Willy Wonka. So as Gene Wilder told us, this way, please. So let's have a look at the month that was. We started up June with a conference held by Facebook where, in an annual sense, every year, in other words, in June, they get together and they speak to the software developers and give them the lie of the land ahead. They tell them what might be important and where Apple is going to put its energy. And what we heard mostly in this month's conversation was all about voice first. It's taking our hands off the keyboard and off the mouse and beginning to use them to gesture, to move things around as we've done for a while now on our smart screens, and more importantly, to be able to speak to it. So expect to see digital everything moving forward, digital voice first. And in fact, there is already a huge increase in the number of software programs, apps, and even websites that are now being written for voice first. Over the next months and certainly years, that will become quite ordinary. Ordinary being that you will interact and speak to it. And we'll have a look at some of the other things around that later on this morning. As always, I pick lots of bits and pieces from all over the show. And one of the pieces, particularly for Australian, and welcome again to all those who are in Canada, in America, in England, and in Asia and the Middle East. Just some of the places I'm aware that you're coming in from this morning, and thank you for that. In Australia, we had our recent annual survey looking at the houses that have sold over the past quarter. And as we've spoken about many times in this podcast, the 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment is still riding high. It is the most popular purchase. It speaks to the way that Australians will live moving forward away from the quarter-acre block and into these multi-storey, most probably 4 to 8-storey dwellings that are multi-purpose, usually with some commercial and some shopping underneath. It's changing the way we see Australia, also the way we shop and the way we interact. While we're looking at statistics that came in this month, always helpful to understand what the average wage might be, how much money people have. It gives us an indication for what sort of spending might be ahead. And as always, I should tell you now that I'll give you a URL at the end of this morning's webinar. It'll be a web address, and you'll be able to come back and watch these slides again and take all the details from them. So if it's moving just a tad too fast, it unfortunately is what this webcast is about. It's about giving lots of information with an opportunity afterwards for you to come back and review it at your leisure. So we're seeing that the average full-time wage in Australia, according to the most recent survey, is just over $81,000. If that's making you feel a bit rich, this one was most fascinating, I found. First time I've seen this figure come out in a very long time. It looks at that notion of being a millionaire and what a millionaire means. And of course, it was attached to the $1 million mark. What's been found in this research is that the equivalent of what you and I always considered a millionaire, which is somebody that really could make choices in life, that most probably had enough money set aside for he or she to be able to live with some comfort or some surety throughout their latter years, now would cost you the equivalent of $25 million, and that's US. So what was once a millionaire is now really requiring you to have US $25 million in the bank before you can consider yourself to be one of that section. Also this month, again, the continual conversation which happens in Australia and around the world, and that is of physical currency disappearing, dollars and coins. And more conversation this month in Australia, which has had a huge uptake to tap and go. Tap and go are those cards that you can literally just tap onto a device and keep walking. No PIN card or anything else required. The uptake of those in Australia is moving into cafes and into smaller volume items, the $1 and $2. And this article talks about in the past 10 years, no surprise, cash payments have fallen, and predicting that most probably by 2025, 80% of retail will be done tap and go or some sort of credit. Now, we've spoken before that tap and go and mobiles will have disappeared by 2025. So really what we're saying is it will be frictionless. We won't have to pull anything out to pay for it. There will be a mechanism behind the scenes that we've agreed to that will take our money and allow us to have the goods or services. While we're talking about those kinds of softwares, those kinds of opportunities, we've of course seen Amazon trial it in a store in Seattle where you can walk in, open your app and signify that you're in the store, put the app away and then just literally take things off the shelf and walk out. That's store specific. But Microsoft has come out in the last few weeks and said that they are producing a piece of software that will be available in store for the retailer to put in place. And then with that piece of software and the shoppers having the appropriate app, that they'll be able to have the same experience anywhere. So what we're seeing is Microsoft, Apple, and many others now trying to push into this frictionless payment space. The holy grail for them here is, of course, not just to provide the software, What they're ultimately looking for is a clip of the payment. Even if it's 0.001 cent, it still adds up across billions of payments every day. So these softwares are definitely part of a landscape of future business models of gaining income by incremental payments. Very, very small payments, but lots and lots of them. So again, expect to see more of this in the next few years. Now, for those in Australia, there was Amazon Prime, which has arrived in Australia fairly late for those listening overseas. We only got it in October last year. That's Amazon itself opened its first warehouse and Australian site in October last year. Last week, they announced Amazon Prime in Australia with a reduced set of services. It's mostly about delivery, access to their portfolio of video, audio, and books, but many of the other things that overseas people are able to access are not yet part of this service. I did a couple of radio segments on it, talking about the launch of Prime, Amazon Prime, and what it would mean, and guessing that part of a future landscape most probably would be giving Australians access to the entire Amazon catalogue, which as of this weekend will no longer be available to us. Amazon is now going to allow us only into an Australian specific site with a much smaller set of products and services available in it. It's a reply to our GST, which is our tax, requiring 10% to be added to it. Most overseas retailers have decided they will put the software and applications in place to allow that to happen, and Amazon has decided that they won't do that, at least for now. I suggested that perhaps part of Prime moving forward would be access to this larger database of products and services, and lo and behold was tweeted back quite quickly. In fact, while I was still on air, by Amazon, who was really taken back by my comments and stated that there were 60 million products already available across 23 categories. That's terrific, Amazon. I love that. But on your major catalogue, according to your own people, you are now just over 1.5 billion products available. So yes, 60 million is great, but it's nowhere near 1.5 billion. So there still is a way for you to go. While we're talking about Amazon Prime, we're back in the States now with this, and it's something that we might see in Australia and certainly around the world, but it speaks to this notion of being online or being physical, and how that no longer really is such a big issue anymore. That what we saw was Amazon buy Whole Foods, which is a retailer in the States, and as of this week, they have put Prime, that service that we've just spoken about, that just come to Australia, that's been available in the States and elsewhere for over a decade. It's a subscription service. Prime is now available as a discount tool into physical bricks and mortar. Also, they are selling Prime subscriptions at the front counter. So we're seeing now an ongoing bringing together of the physical and the digital. And that's something I'm very keen on. I've spoken about that being the reality for the past 12 years or so, and now beginning to see it, where both physical and digital retailers are morphing into other spaces. And that really is about being relevant to the customer. While we're on Amazon, literally announced this morning, Amazon is going to start up its own delivery van service. And what it's going to allow people to do is to buy into that delivery service. So they will actually be able to buy their way into delivering Amazon products and services. It's kind of like an Uber. It's supposedly, we don't have a lot of detail, but supposedly a $10,000 buy-in that will allow you access to the Amazon app and allow you to be part of a network of Amazon deliverers and, of course, make income based on that. Amazon has always said that this was not a space they wanted to get into, but as of this morning, it appears that they absolutely are looking at bringing on their own team of drivers. And as always, rather than employing, subcontracting, or going about it in a traditional linear sense, they've gone non-linear, and they've opened it up to people as a business that they might want to enter into and partner with Amazon accordingly. While we're talking about new businesses, new ideas, this is a waterside property in Toronto, in Canada. What it is at the moment is dockland being used by shipping containers and others. It is going to be repurposed now for an internet-first city where it will be redeveloped and everything inside of this will be technology rich, but the technology itself will be hidden. So it's mostly about public or mass transport, about walking around, about being able to change the weather, believe it or not, within confines of parks, for your property, your home to be able to recognize you and do all those sci-fi things that we've always wanted. This is being built, by the way, by Alphabet. And if that name doesn't mean anything to you, they were once called Google. So Google has been in property development for the last decade or so. This is a huge foray, 800 acres of prime real estate that they are developing up internet rich. And they're not the only ones. You've got Microsoft who are doing similar and have been for a while. And also this month, Bosch has also announced that in San Francisco, they are moving into development, internet-first, technology-rich land development. It's fascinating to see that those once giant tech companies who are still very successful, still very much doing what they did before, now expanding out into new areas, exploring where they're good at. And they're good at providing technology and infrastructure. So why not have a crack at housing? It also takes them into the last meter, which is the holy grail. The last meter is absolutely the things that you do in the intimacy of your own home, the way that you engage with things, the way you buy things, the way you take things off shelves. They've never had access to that information. And by providing these sorts of spaces, with your permission, they will now know more than they've ever known before. While we're still looking at new business models, Mercedes in the States has brought out a new service that will launch later on this year where you no longer will have to buy a Mercedes, you can subscribe. And with your monthly subscription, either $1,800 or $3,000 per month, depending on the category of car you want, you can go into the showroom at any time and swap over your car. It comes with all of the insurance, all of the taxes, everything else paid. You just need to put petrol into it. And you can swap the car within the band of cars that you've paid for as often as you want. Fascinating look. We also see Fiat Chrysler and every other car manufacturer beginning to speak about what they might look like into the future. And this is Fiat making an announcement which has been made by most car manufacturers that they're no longer a car manufacturing company. They are very much about mobility and transport. And for that, they have partnered with Waymo to look at driverless autonomous vehicles. Also this month in Australia, we had a lot of conversations about Uber and its flying cars. A big announcement coming that we might be one of the cities, Melbourne or Sydney, that in 2020 might trial with a view to 2022 having full-time Uber taxis in the sky. It had a lot of run. I did a ton of press on it the day it came out and the day after, talking about these sorts of notions. It's a really good idea. It has merit. It most probably will work to some degree, especially on the transit from the city or elsewhere to the airport. But we've still got to iron out all of the issues around regulations, which of course we will because the government is heavily involved. While we're talking about Uber, another piece that came out this month, again, we're doing disparate pieces. Each of these, I'm hoping, might be a clue or a spark of an idea for something that's germinating inside of you or some business idea. So really looking at these, not for the literal sense of them, but what do they spark? What do they tell you about a future landscape? How might it evolve your thinking? On that line, I'm not sure why you would want to do this, but Uber has partnered with Chubb in the possibility of you taking out your own insurance for the Uber ride you're about to take. It lasts just for that journey, so it might be a couple of cents or maybe a little bit more. I'm not sure why you would need to insure yourself for an Uber ride. If I felt that way, I don't think I would get into the car. But it speaks to what is called usage-based insurance, UBI, that insurance companies, again, have been toying with for the last decade, and we are about to see as a model moving forward, where we pay not in advance for something we might use, but in arrears for what we actually have used, UBI. Bits and pieces still. Warren Buffett, wanted to put $3 billion into Uber. And for whatever reason, they couldn't get it over the line. I give this to you because it tells me that Warren Buffett, who is the most conservative of investors, who looks at everything from every angle, and traditionally when he goes into something makes very good money as a return, was very, very keen to go into Uber. So for those people that are writing Uber off, I wouldn't do it yet. Uber has really only just begun to be what it is going to be. I don't think Uber in 2025 will bear any semblance to what it does today, except in the way that it puts together a marketplace of people that need something with people that are able to offer it. And we talked about Fiat before. Chrysler also this month came out with a release talking about the way that their future might look. So lots of conversations around transport. The other thing that I've picked up on this month, in Europe and starting in the States, not yet in Australia, is that scooters, the old things that we used to ride on, the person-powered scooter, is riding on the planet. We are getting companies now that are being invested in to the value of $2 billion, that's with a B, $2 billion, who are putting together scooter rental schemes across the planet. This is a response to our need for new forms of transport, and something that used to be quite inexpensive and something that was for children has now gone absolutely mainstream. So look out for a scooter somewhere near you. Also this month I was lucky enough to attend a lecture with the most wonderful gentleman called Rajiv Rastogi. He is the director of machine learning at Amazon. He looks after all of what most people call artificial intelligence. And he gave us the most incredible insight into how deep and difficult it is to program Amazon to give us the things that we take for granted. But the thing I want to share with you is something that I've said for a very long time, and it supports my thoughts. He said from the start up that artificial intelligence doesn't exist yet. This science fiction notion of computers being able to think like humans is still a long way off. It's achievable, but in his mind is still 10, 20 years off till we get the true science fiction belief of what it is. I say that to you because I every day have conversations around artificial intelligence. I, more than anybody else, want it to be true. But what we have at the moment is machine learning and speed. And both of those things are incredible. Don't get me wrong, they are wonderful and they are changing the landscape forever, but they are not artificial intelligence. And I want us to keep that label just to the side because it will have a purpose. And when it does, it will be spectacular. But let's not fool ourselves into believing it is here now. One of the creepy things around artificial intelligence, a few stories this month that have come up around that, is this notion that an MIT university graduate has been feeding an AI, what they call artificial intelligence, machine learning, a whole lot of negative data from Reddit about murder. So they have filled the mind, the virtual mind of this thing with murder and terrible thoughts. And guess what this thing thinks about? The only thing this artificial intelligence machine learning thing can think about is murder. I know that's quirky, but what it speaks about is the bias, is our ability with machine learning to influence how and what it thinks by what we feed it. Again, let's not overthink this. Let's not fool ourselves into believing that artificial intelligence or machine learning is not biased. It absolutely is. Also this month, the first of an artificially intelligent, I know it said not to use that word, but everybody does. In the context of these articles, I'll use it. Artificial intelligence premiered its first generated film. It wrote the script, it filmed it, it edited it, and it presented it, all done by artificial intelligence. Again, come back, look at this slide deck in more detail to find the URL for where that film is. The film is actually awful. It really doesn't warrant any viewing, except for the notion of it came through artificial intelligence. Google has also been slammed this month, or the past few months, about artificial intelligence and came up with a set of 7 things that it has told all of its programmers must be there, 7 guiding principles of artificial intelligence. It's a really interesting read. Come back and have a look at that as well. Some of the apps that I found this month, which are a bit quirky, I don't have anything to do with these apps. I never do. I give them to you for your own use if you want to do them. This one is called X.ai, and this one will help you to manage your calendar. You hook up to it, it's a paid service, and when you are inviting somebody into your calendar to set up appointments, it will go backwards and forwards on your behalf, find a suitable time between you and the person you want or people you want to meet with, and pop all of that into your diary and manage it for you. This is one that I've enjoyed the last month. It's called Pinch. Pinch takes notes for you. You go into a meeting, you turn the app on, and it records the meeting. No big deal. But within a couple of minutes of you logging off, it sends a transcript of that meeting for you to be able to read. Again, others have done that. The point of difference here is that all of those words are now searchable. It becomes part of your lifelong digital database. Anyone in your company can go through that meeting, can search for the word, what contract did I agree to with Morris, and it will come up with both the words that were said and the portion of audio for that conversation. That's Pinch. Recommended to lots of people in the past month. Also, while we're looking at bits and pieces, we saw Tesla saying that they're going to cut 9% of their workforce. They finally realized that they cannot produce a car at a profit with all of the people they have. They haven't been around all that long. They over-engineered and over-resourced, and now are starting to have to come back from both of those to figure out their way ahead. So Tesla has put off quite a few people. We also know that Telstra, our telecommunications provider in Australia, is also putting off a large portion of their workforce. And Facebook has abandoned its giant drone program, something we spoke about last year, where Facebook was putting satellites into the sky. Those satellites would cover all of the world, and through that it would provide internet to everybody anywhere. They're no longer doing that. But don't lament, we've still got Tesla and a whole lot of other people looking at that space. We spoke last month about soy-based meat, and this month it launched into Australia and launched into Woolworths. It was put into the meat department and sold as a meat substitute, with the butchers in around Australia outcrying that that should be taken out and put elsewhere. Also this month we saw what is called Chowbotics, which is an automated robot that can make a salad. Think poke bowl. You order the salad, it puts the various ingredients in for you, the salad dressing and everything else, and you can take it away. A vending machine on steroids, but a really interesting one, Chowbotics. Also, only a couple of days ago, we saw the announcement of a new headphone by Novetta. This headphone will not require you to wear anything anymore. It will laser beam the audio to your ears. I did say that, laser beam the audio to your ears. So it will know where you are, it'll know where your ears are, and it will be able to do it by bone conduction. It'll actually put the sound inside of your head without you having to wear anything. An incredible piece of technology, and another one of these horizon landscapes. We also saw the notion this month of technology, mostly smartphones, that will be able to smell. So there'll be smellophones. They'll be able to smell your environment and give you insight. So we might be able to use that for wine tasting. We might be able to use it to be able to see if a room is toxic. And also eventually the other way, we'll be able to send smells out so that you will be able to perhaps test a perfume without buying it, without leaving your home or your smartphone. And also, just recently, 2 days ago, we saw an announcement coming out of Israel that there is a possibility of cyanobacteria, a word I suppose many of us have never heard before, but it's the ability to extract energy, electricity from germs, literally to be able to take it out of the environment around us. And for those, at this stage, to power fairly low-powered devices, but who knows where the technology will take us. We will one day, within the next little while, find a new energy source that doesn't require us to plug in. So this month there were lots and lots of little bits and pieces. I hope you found some of those fascinating, some of those interesting, and some of them stimulating that you'll be able to take away, think about how they might apply to your business, your idea, or perhaps another business venture altogether. If you want to watch this video again, it'll be up most probably by Monday, but the slide deck is there right now. It's businessfuturist.com, Safari, June 2018. I'm leaving it up there for just a second. If all of that's too difficult, just send me an email, morris@businessfuturist.com, and I'll drop you the address again. Next month, I'd love you to come along last Friday of every month. It's the 27th of July, 8:30 a.m. Again, go back through the website and reserve yourself a seat. I would also love your feedback through the month of how valuable or purposeful this seminar was and any hints for how it might be able to be improved. If I can be of service to you or anyone that you know, I would love you to network on my behalf. I provide keynotes around the world, around a range of topics, done over 2,000 in the last couple of decades, on a myriad of topics to about 160 industries. If I can provide those workshops, seminars, or keynotes to your industry, I would love you to recommend me for those. I also provide in-house workshops where we can explore the future together, and I do those also through third-party large accounting and other firms. So 1, 2, 3, and full week workshops, ongoing programs where we can explore the future together and put strategy in place to bring them about. I also offer a think tank, which is a group of people that get together on a monthly basis online to go into depth to some of these details. It's a small group, it's an intimate group. We know of each other and help each other to work into tomorrow's landscape. If you'd like to explore being part of that small future think tank, please drop me a line at businessfuturist.com and I'd be happy to speak to you further about that. Also, excitedly, I'm almost about to announce my Silicon Valley tour for this year. It really is a pre-release for you. Between the 18th and 25th of November, I and so far 18 other people will be traveling throughout Israel's Silicon Valley for 7 days, going in and out of the most incredible innovators, inventors, large corporations, technology partners, and all sorts of people trying to figure out what they're doing, why they're doing it, and what's ahead. It is absolutely a hands-on tool where you take yourself to Israel, we meet up there, and then for the next 7 days, I guide you through that experience. You will meet over 30 different businesses and also have the opportunity to meet one-on-one with a number of them. Drop me a line for more of that and look out for the major announcements for how you can join us. But as I say, we already have a huge number of people coming along, and that's on pre-release, already signed up. So please, if it's all interest to you, I guarantee this is red cordial stuff if you love innovation. It will blow your mind because it always does. So again, thank you for coming along this month. I've most enjoyed your company this morning, looking at what June had to offer with a view to what the world ahead might be. I'd love you to come back and join me again next month, the last Friday of next month at 8:30 when we do it all over again. So thank you again. Have a great month wherever you are on this planet. Please, if you've enjoyed this, let others know so that they can join us next month. I hope you will come back. And again, have the most incredible future. Now, for those who are still around, if you want to catch up for a chat, start typing away. I would love to be able to talk about what it is that's on your mind. So if there's anything you want to chat about, any conversation, anything you want more conversation around, or just want to start up a conversation of any kind about the future, now is the time to do it. It's kind of like an auction. I'm waiting for people to see if there's anything around. Thank you to all of those that have thanked me for the morning. It's always great to know you're out there. So the question is, I'd love to hear, this is from Jared, I'd love to hear your thoughts on how big the smart speakers in your home are going to be. I know this isn't a question, I'll start with a facetious answer, and that is they're going to get smaller. But I know what you're asking me is how often we're going to see them, how prevalent. Smart speakers are going to be buried into our home. At the moment, we're buying them quite cheaply. Expect to see them around our home in all sorts of devices and things that we buy. We will literally be speaking to our home as if it is another being. It will most probably have a name, as it's had in science fiction, and we will do everything through that. It is being built into most of the new apps, so the ability to be able to speak and get things done. The banks are using it now as part of their new apps. You can buy online using these things. So absolutely smart speakers, if you're looking to invest in them, not that I give investment advice, but definitely is a part of our future. And if you're looking to do anything where you interact business to consumer, business to business. You'd be looking at voice interaction now. So absolutely, Jared, I think it's part of tomorrow's landscape. It's not a fad. We may see it come and go as we go through that yuck phase of it's here, we're doing stuff with it, it's a bit quirky, and I've forgotten for a while because there's nothing new. That most probably will happen, but it will definitely be part of our landscape. I think by 5 years from now, we will be typing very, very little and using the mouse even less often. So thanks for that question, Jared. Loved answering it. Anything else out there that people would love to chat about? There's still a few of you online, so I think you're all waiting for somebody else to bring up the question. Perhaps one of you. Let's be brave. Let's throw it out there. What's the topic? What's getting you about the future? Oh, we're all hanging in there for dear life, waiting to see if anyone will ask a question. I've got one here. What about Apple CarPlay and Android Auto? It seems to have gone a little quiet. It most probably has, because what we're finding is that the car manufacturers are now allowing, through an API, which is a gateway into their car, agnostic apparatus, which means that they're all pushing into the space where you can bring whatever device you want into your car and allow it to pop up on the screen. Those sorts of things I think will become more ordinary. We'll certainly be using Apple CarPlay, Android Auto and things for a little while as a bridge. We might find some car manufacturers might choose or adopt one of those, and some have as their preferred provider. But most of them will get to the point where they know they have to allow a bridge into the car regardless of whose bridge it is, because that's what the driver wants to do. So my guess is we'll see them in the car. I know they're being hard baked into the software and hardware of future cars that we're about to see. And at the moment, we're seeing these gateways into them. So thanks, a great question again. You are most welcome, Jared. All right, so I'm going to leave us and love us at this point. Everyone, thank you very, very much for joining along. If you want to catch up during the month, it's Business Futurist, morris@businessfuturist.com. Please drop me a line at any time, happy to do it. Otherwise, just go to the businessfuturist.com website and find the usual communicate stuff. If you want to keep up throughout the month, I do lots of tweets, lots of Facebook, all that kind of social media conversation. There's usually something up there every day about what I'm reading, what I'm seeing, or what I'm involved with. Again, if you can support me in any way by providing my name to anyone that might want workshops or keynotes or strategy sessions, I would love you to do that. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great month, and I'm signing off now.